be patient, be consistent, be disciplined, persevere. There's days where I get up in the morning and I feel a little anxious. I feel a little, I feel worried, but knowing that, I'm a patient person. I always say I'm young and patient.
Right.
It's going to pay off eventually.
Hello, and welcome to the Elevator Careers Podcast, sponsored by the Orland Group. I am your host, Matt Allred. In this podcast, we talk to the people whose lives and careers are dedicated to the vertical transportation industry to inform and share lessons learned, building upon the foundation of those who have gone before to inspire the next generation of elevator careers. Today our guest is Chris Rivera, president of Orlando Elevator in Orlando, Florida. Chris started in the elevator industry in 1995 as a helper in Puerto Rico, and in 1997 he moved to New York City to continue his career. In January of 2000, Chris moved to Orlando, Florida, and in July 2022, he started Orlando Elevator. Chris loves the elevator industry and he is passionate about educating customers and providing exceptional customer service. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Matt. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm excited. I know we talked first time years ago. I don't even remember how many years ago, but I'm excited to
5.
Yep. I'm excited to be able to talk to you more. And obviously you're there with the Orlando Elevator sign in the background. So I'm excited to talk about your new business. Yeah.
Yes.
And let's just start at the beginning. When did you get into the industry?
I got into the industry February 6, 1995. And by way of my half brother, Miguel Daya, he's the son of one of the Daya Elevator founders in Puerto Rico.
Okay.
My two brothers, they started a company back then. I think it was 93, 94, called Metro Elevator.
Okay.
And I started that. I was actually living in New York. Rochester's my hometown, Rochester, New York.
Okay.
And one day I just called him. It was middle of a blizzard in February, probably January. And I asked him, what are you guys doing? And he said, well, come down to the Caribbean and we'll set you up with the job. And I was like, all right, but I had no idea what I was getting myself into.
So you knew nothing about the elevator industry, but you knew you didn't like snow. Is that what I hear?
Correct. I was tired of the snow. And so it sounded, I was 20, 21 years old, I think it was.
Okay.
And it sounded, the Caribbean, paradise, the beaches, the weather, it sounded good to me versus, middle of a blizzard in January. I was like, yeah, I think I'll go to the Caribbean. I was single, I had no ties, nothing to hold me back. So I started with them. First day on the job, they put me with one of their seasoned mechanics, and he jumped on top of the elevator, and I was like, I'm not gonna get on top of that. So he was showing me around, what's the pit, what's the car top, and how the elevator runs, and the machine room. And it was really all new to me. I had no idea that, and living in New York City, New York and Rochester, I lived in a 16-story building. I had no idea that's
right. You'd only been in the box, right?
In the box, you push the button and you walk out, and you forget about the rest. It was all new to me, and I didn't really like it at first, especially when they would tell me to clean the pits.
Yeah. So you were starting as a mechanic, or as a helper, or as an apprentice?
Oh, green helper.
Okay.
As green as you can get. New to the industry, knew nothing about nothing. I was 19, 20, 21. Didn't really know a whole lot about life. Period.
Sure.
Didn't really know what direction I wanted to go. I wasn't sure if I wanted to be a car mechanic or something like that. But so they had me in the beginning cleaning pits, sweeping machine rooms, the typical things that helpers do.
Sure.
With the cleaning aspect of it. But little did I know that in the cleaning process, as you clean, you're actually learning about the mechanics of the elevator.
Sure.
What to touch, what not to touch. what to clean and what not to clean. Some things are actually better off just leave them as is. Um, and so, especially with some of the old relays, I learned old Westinghouse equipment, Westinghouse Otis equipment, Westinghouse ERLs and REL controllers, and it was pretty daunting and overwhelming watching
Sure.
all those relays chattering and
Oh, yeah, yeah.
clicking, and so it was interesting. It was interesting getting started, and then I got a job working for New York Elevator in Manhattan,
Okay.
and
So
as a service
you left the Caribbean and the South to go back north, you're saying?
to go back north. Yeah, not because of the coal, but I miss New York and I miss the city. I still have family there,
Sure.
in Queens and Brooklyn, and so and I heard the pay was better and the benefits were better, so it kind of drew me to. I figured about a year and a half being a helper, I knew what I was doing, so I thought. Uh,
Sure.
New York really working in New York City is just it's a different ball game. It's just it's
Oh,
beautiful.
sure.
It's great working is high rises. It's wonderful. I really enjoyed my time there.
Cool. How long
Yeah.
were you in New York then?
I was there for about a year and a half. I was there for
So
about a
year and a
year and
half south, year and a half north. So coming up on 3.5 years. Then where?
and then moved to Orlando and been here ever since.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, did you come to Orlando still as a mechanic, or how did your career go from there?
No, so in New York City, there's two unions. There's the many people call the real union, IUEC, and then you had
Local
the
one?
IBW,
Okay.
International
Local three?
Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. They had a division, elevator division, that's Local 3, and
Right.
that's where I was working under. When I come to Orlando, it's the IUEC, so it was really different. I learned my lesson. I probably should have joined the IUEC instead of IBW, but either way, I didn't get a job immediately here locally with the IUBC. So General Elevator Sales and Service, they were a big company here.
Okay.
They got bought out by ThyssenKrupp. They offered me a helper's position in modernization. So I just want to get back in the industry, so I took it,
Okay.
and I spent the next 7 years with them. Went from helper to service route technician,
Sure.
route mechanic, and just learn the trade with them. So it was a great time with them as well.
That's awesome. How valuable, as you look back on your career, is that time that you spent as a mechanic in your career, in the overall scheme of what you know?
Overall,
And yeah.
um, well, I think it was a great time. Beach shifts. Even recently, I was working for Cone A in the field, and it's in the field is different than wearing a white shirt, and we're just working in the office. It's really different. Um, I still find myself being a small business owner, getting my hands dirty, and
Sure.
believe it or not, I sort of prefer that in a way, I guess, because that's what I sort of like grew up knowing,
Right.
was being in the field, hands-on, turning wrenches, troubleshooting. That's my favorite thing, is troubleshooting. Um, I'm not the best. I continue to learn, especially as technology changes.
Sure.
The office thing is great. It's necessary. It's a necessary evil, I say. Uh, but I think my time as a mechanic really, you learn a lot of skills other than turning wrenches. And what I mean by that is you learn even people skills. A lot of people,
Sure.
they sometimes a little bit rough around the edges. Some mechanics, but you learn people skills. You learn how to deal with different kinds of people, different kinds of customers. So there's a lot of things in the field that you learn,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
and not just elevators.
Well, and you seem to, from my perspective, you learn the business from the ground up. And then the reason I asked that question about how valuable is because I talked to so many people that, once they kind of get that experience, there's nowhere they can't go. It's just a matter of, what do I want to do? Right. I can do this. I can get into management. I can
Right.
go into consulting. I can start my own thing. I can, it seems to
Absolutely.
be a very, from my perspective, a very valuable set of
Yes.
skills and experience.
Yes, yes. This industry, it's just like the tree of life. I mean, it just keeps giving and giving and giving, and it has many branches. It has many niches. You can go into the parts
Sure.
department, any department, and even industries within the industry.
Right.
Whether it's the parts, whether it's just any specialty, like you said, consulting, inspections, management. It just keeps giving, and now this is 2023, and we see how many changes have occurred from investment groups acquiring and the acquisitions and the mergers and just different ways of this industry growing and almost like reinventing itself. It's pretty amazing times we're living right now, actually. Very different from when I started.
Yeah,
And I
absolutely.
started, 20 some years ago.
Sure, sure. No, I'm sure you. Yeah, I mean, you talked about the relays clicking around. I mean, certainly you probably still see those on older machines, but obviously
Oh
that's
yeah,
not the way that technology is going. So you're seeing a variety
correct.
of technologies being deployed all at the same time, and then getting out there to try to work on one and then work on something else that's totally different.
Yeah, it's amazing how you go from job to job, from building to building, and you're working on this old relay logic, and then your brain has to shift to, okay, now I'm dealing with more of a software issue. It's not mechanical, it's software, and it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So from General Elevator, what was kind of your next step?
From general, I tinkered around. I opened up a little small business. That's when I really started to. I guess I'm an entrepreneur at heart,
Hmm.
and I've always been from. I think from when I was 12, I had my paper route. I
Sure.
kind of you call the shots when you're doing you got your own route, and you get that money coming in, and like this is good. I can make as much as I want or as little as I want. It's and work whenever you want.
Yeah.
So I started a little company, but it was mostly like residential elevators and wheelchair lifts.
Okay.
And that I did actually pretty well with that. But then in '08, the economy, how it tanked and
Sure.
things really got pretty hectic. So I went back to work for a company.
Okay.
Um,
Gotcha.
and then and kind of progressed from there to where I'm at now.
Very cool. Very cool. So
Mhm.
at what point did you realize that you loved the elevator industry? What
Ooh, good question.
what was it that kind of captured you and said, "Man, this is where I want to hang out for the next 20, 30, 40 years."
I think actually just before I left Puerto Rico and before moving to New York, I took it was Christmas holidays that year. I forget what year exactly what that was. Must have been about '99. I think it was maybe '98. I went for a few days. I went to New York City, and I back then there were public phones with yellow pages attached to a cable.
Sure. I remember those days.
And I pulled the yellow pages and I opened them up and I just started looking for elevator companies. And I called a few and I tried to set up interviews. Nobody was hiring. And so eventually I got to the ends with New York Elevator and I was able to make an interview. Um, and so I show up with the interview. I talk to the manager there, and he says, "Yeah, sure, help her. Yeah, sure." Just I explained to him my situation, and he's like, "Yeah, sure. Just whenever you're ready, to move to New York City, and just come on in, and we'll get you started." Um, and then with the whole experience of working in those high rises, working in Midtown, working in
Sure.
Lower Manhattan, in the financial district on Wall Street, um, 14 Wall, 101 Wall, 100 Wall, all of those buildings. Um, then that's where I knew this is it. This is where I'm going to be. This is my career of choice. This is
Sure.
my calling. And kind of like I said before the interview was, then I felt like I didn't choose this career, even though I stuck with it, but it kind of found me. It chose me, right? It's kind of just you have that attachment, And
What was it that it really attached you? Would you say was it I don't know, people or the technology, or what's the combination for you?
I think it's the uniqueness of the job. There's no other job like it. There's no other career like it. And I'm sure other people say the same thing about their careers, but this is a niche market. You pull up
Sure,
the yellow pages and you find a bunch of plumbers, a bunch of painters, a bunch of electricians, a bunch of air conditioning guys, companies. And kudos to them. Those are very, we use them. We need them, right? I
sure,
mean, especially here in Florida, if you live in the north, you need a heating company.
sure,
But the listing for elevator companies, I mean, it's really short.
sure.
You know, the industry is small. You look at the conventions. You've got 2,000 people. That's a lot of people, but is it really? Not really. You
Sure.
know, it's a small, and I think the uniqueness of it. Just about every friend of mine, everybody that I encounter, they ask me, "So what do you do for a living?" I said, "Well, I'm in the elevator industry. I repair elevators, I service them, make them new." They're like, "Oh man, you're the only person that I know that does that." They know no one else,
Right.
or they maybe they know the father-in-law, the cousin, the brother knows somebody, that their neighbor or whatever, but it's very rare. It's very rare. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and obviously the people within the industry, you've got that bond with them, and you've
Yes.
probably built
Yes.
some cool friendships over the years. Who were some of your mentors early on that really helped you gain a vision for what this industry is about?
My brother, my oldest brother, he started being his father was one of the founders of Day Elevator, which was founded in 1967, I believe,
Cool.
and they're still in business. They're the largest in the Caribbean. He showed me the ropes. He showed me a lot of do's and don'ts. So he's my biggest mentor. Still to this day, I call him and
Sure.
I ask him. He kind of anytime I have a question or anything, I just call him. And so he's my. And then through the industry itself, just other folks that maybe they're not mentors in the sense that they're mentors like what a mentor is, but definitely I call them, I pick their brains, and they too also give me very good advice. So, but my biggest mentor is my brother, hands down.
Yeah. 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 That's awesome. That's awesome. So you brought us to '08. You sold your small company. You went to work for a bigger company, and then fast forward a few years, and you kind of created your own. Tell me a little bit about Orlando Elevator. How long you guys been in business, and what's
So we are a brand new startup. We'll celebrate our first anniversary in July. Still got a few more months.
cool?
But time is flying. I mean, I feel like I just started 2 months ago, and it's been already what 6 7 months. Um, and so I chose the name Orlando because I with my previous business I was running all over the state of Florida, and the state of Florida is a very large state.
Oh yeah,
I mean, from east to
it's one
west,
of the
it's
longest.
yeah, it's still 3 4 hours, depending on traffic. But from north and south, I mean, yeah, it could take your
Well,
day.
especially if you get up in the Panhandle. I mean, that's very long.
Correct, correct. So I didn't want to do that this time around. You learn as you go, and even managing for other companies. I had a large territory with another company, and I didn't want to do that.
Sure.
My focus, because one of the main reasons, my focus, I want to be able to, even if we had 18 technicians, I want us to respond immediately, the same day.
Cool.
If the if we preach a 2 hour response, 1 hour response time, which is the typical what everybody sells, but very few people actually come through.
Sure.
We want to come through with that. We want to be able to be responsive. And so I thought, well, let's stay regional. Let's just stay, the I call it the triangle between Daytona, Cocoa Beach, and Orlando, and kind of
Okay.
anything in between. A little bit of the outskirts in Lake County and Polk County. But and I thought Orlando was just it wasn't taken. I mean, it was available. And so I think I struck gold, and I'm looking for the domain name orlandoelevator.com. It was available, surprisingly.
Yeah, that's
Um,
awesome.
I paid actually a premium for it, but I won't say how much, but it was quite a bit.
But you got it, right? That's the
But
important
I
thing,
got it.
apparently. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So are you doing residential, commercial? Are you doing a mix, or how's that work?
So we're doing strictly commercial.
Okay,
I give up on the residentials and wheelchair lifts, even though I get calls. And I did quote one wheelchair lift because it was local right here within minutes from the office.
sure.
Um, but strictly commercial. Again, I wanted to pick a region and then a niche market. Not so much niche because other folks do commercial as well, but
Right.
stick to one thing within the industry. Um, I know the website says different, but I'm gonna be changing that. Um, but I chose just commercial
Yeah.
service, modernization, repairs. We're not delving into new installations just yet. New installation it's also a different, it's a different animal, if you will, different beast.
Sure, sure. Well, especially if you're not an OEM, right? It's a little trickier to
Yeah, I mean, you can install being a non-OEM, but um, it just entails a lot of effort working with the GC, the
true
timelines. Then
architects and
it's wait, hurry up, right? They have you wait, and then all of a sudden, hey, we need the elevator. We need a CO for the building like tomorrow. So, and it takes equipment and personnel and just a whole lot that because I've been on that road as well, and just working with GCs, it's never pleasant. So I'd rather not at this moment.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it makes sense. Makes sense. And I'm sure there's
Mhm.
plenty of service, plenty of repair and mod to go around in
Oh yeah.
Orlando.
Oh yes. Correct. Yeah. Especially now with the door lock monitor. I know everybody's getting into that.
Sure.
It's a big deal right now. Um, but even more, I'm not even doing that much as I thought I would. Maybe as the deadline approaches, and of course, knowing the state of Florida, they'll probably give another 3-year extension. So we'll never actually be done with that.
Right.
But but just repairs and mods, people, there are still a lot of old elevators in Central Florida, and of course, there's still some lingering hurricane damage
Sure.
that actually we're making some repairs as well. So yeah, there's always something going on.
Yeah, yeah. That's awesome. So what are some of the, I guess, issues of that are facing the elevator industry these days as you see them? Challenges
Um,
maybe?
yeah, I don't know. I'm not against all the mergers and acquisitions. That's okay with me, especially at this point.
Hmm.
That I've started Orlando Elevator. Um, I don't know. It seems customer service and customer support from some of the vendors, it takes longer to get an answer. I don't remember that being that way. I may be wrong with some particular, suppliers. Um, but for instance, calling technical support to certain individuals, certain companies, you're now placed on a hold list, and they may or may not call you the same day, or they may or may not call you the same week. They
Yeah.
may forget about you. You got to call back and say, hey, I've got this ticket number you gave me. What's the status? What number do I make in line? Um, that may have been always that way. I just don't remember. I don't remember that being that way before. I don't know. So I think some of these companies are just growing too big, and we're at
I
their
hear
mercy,
you.
right? As a company, I'm at the mercy of my own vendors.
Sure,
And if
sure.
and if there's a delay with them, well, guess what? There's a delay with my customer, my paying customer that needs the elevator to be running for their guest or their residents. Um, I wish that a little bit more priority would be given to us, the elevator companies, because again, and then our vendors are limited, right? It's not like we have a whole. I mean, we have more
When you
options
say
these days than
priority,
before.
help me understand that. Do you mean, I guess, what do you mean more priority given?
So if we have a shutdown, we if we're calling for either technical support
Oh, okay, right.
or hey, we need this part, um, a little bit more, and it may be that some of these companies aren't hiring enough people to keep track of the orders. I don't know what it is. I don't work for them. I don't know what how they're doing
So
business.
in other words, if you're servicing a particular brand of elevator and you call them for, hey, I need this part from you because you make it.
Correct.
Okay, that I
Yeah.
understand that. Yeah.
There's a delay. There's more delays than before.
Okay.
So if there's a delay on their end, there's going to be a delay on my end to get my customer's elevator up and running.
Sure.
That's
And
just kind of what I'm seeing.
sure.
I don't want to complain too much because then they'll put me on the bottom of the list for complaining. But I just wish. But some are very good. Some I actually order parts and I get them the next day. So
nice.
it's not
Nice.
everybody, but I think with the mergers and acquisitions, some of that customer service is being lost somewhere down the line. And if they can rectify that somewhat, and we can be more responsive to our customers, and instead of saying, "Hey, I know there's a supply chain issue now,"
Right.
but I think we're kind of getting over that little by little, and everybody's expecting that things are going to take a little longer.
Sure.
But let's still be a little, work a little bit more efficient for that. So, and that's all.
Yeah. No. Well, and I guess there's always
End of
work to be
rant.
done. Yeah. There's a lot to do, and I obviously if you're a doctor's office on the second floor, you got to have your elevators or you're kind of out of business. So
Yeah.
you got a critical industry.
Correct. And I even serviced, there's a animal hospital on the second floor of a building that I service. And so even, for the pets, you need the elevator for the pets because some of them are overweight or they just need,
Sure.
Vets care. So.
Maybe their leg is injured, right? You gotta be able to go up and down for sure.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess, we're kind of getting toward the end of our time, but I want to end with a question about, just ask you what kind of advice you would give to newcomers to the industry. Maybe they're business owners or maybe they're, starting their career. What are some things you learned and what would you share?
So one for a newcomer, a young guy or gal. I'd like to see more gals in the industry, honestly. More female mechanics and business owners and of the sort. And there are actually see more than before. But for a newcomer into the trade, you've chosen a great industry and be patient. It's going to pay off. And save. Like my father used to say, open up that 401k, put 10% if you can, and just save. Because it's a very rewarding industry. On top of it's rewarding emotionally or anything like that, and as a career, but it also pays well.
Sure.
But you have to manage your money right, and invest. So definitely come in. You've chosen the right career, right job, and save. And then for a new business owner, same thing I was told: be patient, be consistent, be disciplined, persevere. There's going to be there's days where I get up in the morning and I feel a little anxious. I feel a little I feel worried, but knowing that I'm a patient person. I always say I'm young and patient.
Right.
It's going to pay off eventually. I've seen it. I've lived it before, and these are different times. So and so far I can't complain. So God has blessed me. I give Him the honor and glory. And we've got MAs on the books. We've got repairs on the books. We've got service accounts. It's just gone extremely well. We're extremely blessed. So be patient is the biggest thing. Is be patient, but be very disciplined. Don't get up in the morning and say, well, I don't have any service account, I'm going back to bed. No,
Right.
you got to go out there, knock on doors, make phone calls. Not everybody likes sales. It's sales is a whole different creature, if you will. But if don't look at it as a sale. Just talk about your experience and your knowledge, and that in itself makes a good sales elevator pitch, if you will.
Yeah. I love it. Love it. Chris, anything else you wanted to say before we close?
You got to make the interviews a little longer. Just kidding. Because we're passionate about this, right? Once you're in this industry and you're
Sure.
passionate about it, sometimes like I said earlier, I get up in the morning, I'm like, oh God, I got to do this again. But then as the day goes on and I'm out there and I'm talking to customers, I'm going to meetings. I like the hustle and bustle, if you will. I like the negotiations. I like shaking hands, face to face interaction.
Sure.
I just enjoy it. I just enjoy it. It's I don't see it as a job. I don't even see it as a career anymore. I've been doing this for so long. It's just second nature. It's part of me.
You just
And
love
you
what
get
you
me
do.
going. You get me going talking about elevators, just like a good old elevator guy. And man, we'll be here for hours.
Well, I mean, so you're saying you want these interviews to be a little longer when I'm talking to people. Is that right?
Well, I'm just kidding. It's because it's me. I like talking anyway. So.
Well, I was gonna say, if you've got a really good story you want to throw in here before we close, you never know. I'm sure you know a ton of stories, but
There's so many, but I won't bore you guys.
it's all good. Well, Chris, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Best wishes as you continue to build your business and have a blast doing it.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
You bet.
Appreciate
Thank you.
having me. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Elevator Careers Podcast, sponsored by the Allred Group, a leader in elevator industry recruiting. You can check us out online at elevatorcareers.net. Please subscribe, and until next time, stay safe.